welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to be covering a subject I like to keep up with. I'm going to try to do more often as, in addition to talking about anime and comics, TV shows and, video games and stuff. I like to talk about TV show ratings because those are very important. I like to visit a lot of these sites, and I'm going to briefly talk about some of the latest, as of the week that I'm recording, some of the TV shows that I like to watch and comic book related shows, their ratings. And there's a lot of sites out there you can find information on like ratings. One of those shows I want to start off mentioning was The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead just wrapped up its mid-season finale. They killed some characters. The ratings for the show has been really, for the last 2 or 3 years, have been really just, they've been horrible. The ratings are really, they've went from like having like, I'm going to say like 10 to 15 million viewers, given on, judging on whenever the episode was or what was going on. They went from those type ratings down to now they're in the, let's see, I'm going to jump over here. I've got it over here. They're going and, see, I'm showing some of the ratings on the screen. Look, they've went from, just from the October 7th. Look at this. They went from 6 million viewers to 4 to 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, back to 4. And, on the 25th, they went back to 5. But see, they've never been able to get, they used to get like 10 and 15 million viewers like 2 or 3 years ago. And look, they're slowly hemorrhaging, viewers. And most of it, me personally, what aggravates me is they're straying so far away from the comic. I mean, they've been really doing that for, the last several years. They kind of zigzag in between, in and out with how the comic operates. I understand there's going to be changes, and I've always, kind of dealt with that, but they really dramatically they've really dramatically taken a turn away from the comic. They've almost completely abandoned the comic. At this point, they're like, they're just like occasionally, following the plot of something like the example of the Whispers. They're following the Whispers concept, but it's so drastically different from the comic that it's like, and it's nice to see some of those things. The Whispers, that's maybe a bad example because that's the thing I feel that they're doing correctly in the comic. Even though they're not doing it just like the comic, it's still entertaining and nice to see visually. But many of the characters in the comic are already gone. And it's just, the show it's like the writing is really what's killing the show. It's not the actors, it's the bad writing. And some of the episodes have been laughably stupid. Like this, you wonder, like, what were they thinking when they wrote this? Anyway, I'm not surprised that the writing is really down. And unless when things really, really drastically change and get a lot better, it's going to keep going nosediving. It's going to get down to like WB ratings. Speaking of WB, it's basically the thing to how I can summarize what's wrong with Walking Dead. It's like an abusive relationship. I keep like somebody that's being abused. They keep expecting something great to happen, like things to change, things to get better. If I just stick with it, and every time you go back, you get beat up. That's kind of like The Walking Dead lately. You keep going back thinking, hey, maybe this time it'll be better. This time they'll do it, and it's going to get like it used to. It's going to be great again. And no, you get smacked and beat on again. Maybe that's a horrible example, but that's a horrible example, but it's kind of like that. You keep expecting things to improve, things to get back the way they were, and they never do with The Walking Dead. If anything, it gets worse. And a lot worse, and it's just as you can see in the ratings, it's just not there. It's just, and I would suspect that when they come back, it may even further, the ratings may even further hemorrhage a little bit, but they could get a little better. It probably at some point is probably going to stabilize around. I would figure right about here. This is probably when they come back is about where they'll be at. I might be about right here. But there's a lot of people mad at The Walking Dead, especially after the little cliffhanger they had, so I would suspect it's going to be in this range. Anyway, Yeah, and by the way, The Talking Dead is kind of down. Obviously, I personally I used to watch that show a lot. I used to thought it was the greatest show ever. You know, you watch the show, and then you watch then you watch The Talking Dead, and you got to talk about the things that happened in the episode. But in the last few years, it's really been the guests they've had on there are kind of annoying. They kind of rub me the wrong way. They're just I don't know. There's something about Chris Hardwick. I kind of like him, but the guest on the show kind of ruined Talking Dead. So I really can't. I can't. I watched the first minute or two of The Talking Dead, see who they got on there, and then I'm like, yeah, whatever. Especially when they got the producers and writers for the Walking Dead. How arrogant they kind of they just don't get it. They almost kind of talk down to the fans a little bit. I feel, and that's my opinion, but I feel like they really don't listen to what the problems are. They kind of act like, no, nothing's wrong, all is well. That's the type of attitude they have, and that's why I can't really watch The Talking Dead anymore. It's like there's a problem, and they're not admitting there's a problem, and it really aggravates me. So I got where I can't watch that. So anywho, one other show I love to watch is The Flash. I really have enjoyed watching that. And I'm not alone because the ratings are doing pretty well. And in fact, I think it's probably one of the most successful WB shows, especially as far as the comic book properties. It's doing really well. It's kind of up and down, since October 9th, but it's been, it's holding steady. It's doing a lot better, like I said, than this show. I stopped watching. I watched the first season of this, and I got to a point where I couldn't watch it anymore. And I'm not alone on that because this show at some point is going to be canceled. It's obvious. It's not doing that good. Look, there is an episode of Full House on cable right now getting better ratings than this show. And considering the money they're putting into it, that's embarrassing. DC's Legends of Tomorrow is getting worse ratings than a Full House episode probably right now. It's probably getting worse ratings than probably Boomerang or Cartoon Network. It's literally there is a show right now on Nickelodeon that's probably getting better ratings than this network show. That's kind of sad. That's how bad that show has fallen. And I like some of the stars that are on there, and I hope that they find better things. Like Brandon Routh, I think he was a pretty good actor on that show, and unfortunately he got stuck on this one. Hopefully he'll end up on another show, or the same character being merged with another show. Like, I don't know. I just feel it's sad. I just can't watch that one. That's just me personally. And like I said, look, I'm not alone. That show sucks. I'm sorry. It sucks. Oh, the Arrow. That is doing pretty good. I've never really been big on the Arrow. I've watched a couple episodes of it. I just couldn't get into it. At some point I might go back and watch them, but the Arrow wasn't my thing. I wish they would call it the Green Arrow. I understand the reasons why they don't. I just, I'm not really a huge Green Arrow fan, but it's nice to see this holding steady. It's doing good in ratings. And let's see, Supergirl. Once again, that's another show I started out watching. I watched when it first came out on CBS. I wasn't that thrilled with it. I watched a few episodes on the WB. I wasn't thrilled with it. I couldn't get into it. It's just I like the Supergirl character. I don't like this show. It's not for me. It's just not for me. Sometimes a show is just not, you can't get into it, and this is one I can't get into. But it seems it's holding okay. It's doing a lot better than the Legends of Tomorrow, but obviously the Arrow is beating it. And the Flash, of course, is beating everyone. It's doing a lot better. But I would suspect that this show is going to hold for a while, but eventually it will probably be canceled, just like Legends of Tomorrow. It's just, you can tell it's kind of, and I've looked over the course of the show's history, it is slowly been kind of slivering off, its viewers. And I would imagine that's something to do with why they moved it around, they're fixing to have a crossover, and I suspect that their ratings will go up. And then after the crossover, the ratings will go down, back where they are right now. And probably, we'll see. Actually, look, it's actually doing, seems like every week it's slowly doing a little bit worse. So I suspect at some point, it's probably going to get canceled. That I know there's a lot of fans of the show, but it's eventually going to get canceled. I see the Arrow staying on a long time. It already has. It's staying on. If anything, I see these two shows, The Flash and the Arrow, being on as long as like I'm trying to think of the show, Supernatural. I used to watch Supernatural. I watched it for a few seasons, and then eventually I just got tired of it. You know, I moved on to other shows. But yeah, I was surprised to see it's still on the air. It's still cruising and doing really well, and it's probably going to be on a few more seasons. And I suspect the Flash will be the same way. The Flash will be on as long as the actors will continue to act on the show. And you know, I really don't see that show ever being taken off for a long time. That's just my opinion, my own humble opinion, because I love that show. Anyway, that's just wanted to do a quick show about ratings and my favorite shows and some comic book shows that are on. There's some other ratings I could cover, but it's really harder to cover like Netflix, type shows, because the ratings are kind of guarded. Although I heard that the Daredevil series, even though I enjoyed it, I really enjoyed that, the third season, I heard it didn't do that great. But I think that's because a lot of the Netflix shows take so much time off, and then people forget about those shows. But and maybe it's because they got such a bad taste in their mouth after watching the Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, and the Invaders, and all those little spin-offs they did that failed and have already been canceled. And hopefully they've learned their lesson. They're gonna just keep doing Daredevil. I've heard they're gonna do a Daredevil season 4, and I highly recommend, if you haven't watched Daredevil, go watch that. And especially if you haven't seen it, it's really worth watching. It's not bad like the Iron Fist and Luke Cage and all of them were. And I can't remember the other one. There's another series, and I watched it once. Jessica something. It won't come to me, but I watched the season of that. I couldn't get into it either. It just wasn't that good. The only one that's good is Daredevil. If you want to watch one on Netflix, Daredevil's the one to watch. It's good. And The Punisher and Daredevil, those are good. Okay, that's all for this episode. I'll catch you next time. Take care.